a Jewish holiday on the first of every Hebrew month? My name is Netta, I'm a Jewish educator, and make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you're getting all the new Jewish content coming your way. In this video, we're going to be talking about Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of each Hebrew month. We'll talk about what its significance was in the past, what it has become today, and also about the specific upcoming Rosh Chodesh of Adar. Why is it important? Why is this beginning of the Jewish month so significant, and what we can learn about it. Rosh Chodesh in general is a kind of holiday in of itself. On this day, we say various additional prayers like Hallel, the prayer of praise, Musaf, an additional service that is added that tells us that there was an additional sacrifice at the temple, and today we have an equivalent service that is added that tells us that it is a special day. I will add that this additional service of Musaf is added on Shabbat and added on holidays. So this tells us that the beginning of the Hebrew month is a holiday and special. Beyond that, we also are not allowed to fast on this day. It is prohibited to actually conduct a fast for yourself. So whether it is a national fast that is going to be declared or a personal fast. Like, for example, there is a custom that a bride and groom on their wedding day fast if they are Ashkenazim. The idea that the gates of heaven are open to their prayers like on the Day of Atonement, the most holy day of the Jewish year. So if they're getting married on Rosh Chodesh, it is actually prohibited for them to fast. So this is how we understand that Rosh Chodesh is a holiday in of itself. It really is a celebration already from the structure and from the general information we have about this day. What aspects of Rosh Chodesh existed during Antiquity times for the Jewish people? So, interestingly enough, Rosh Chodesh is actually the first mitzvah, the first commandment that the Jewish people received as they left Egypt. Upon leaving Egypt, in the book of Exodus, in the portion of Bo, we read that God gave Moses and then gave to the people this commandment by pointing to the moon and saying, now you have the responsibility for declaring month, to being in charge of your calendar. And this way, from a nation of slaves, they all of a sudden got that independence, that opportunity, that ownership of their own time. And that is the first commandment and mitzvah that the Jewish people received as a nation. So how did this actually technically work? Well, there was a body called a Beit Din, and at various times it was called different things, but it was the leadership body and authority that individuals would actually go to this body and declare they saw the new moon. Because the way that it works is that Rosh Chodesh, the beginning of the Hebrew month, is when the moon is really just a sliver. It is literally a new moon. So they based declaring the new calendar on eyewitnesses before there was such a thing as a set calendar that we have today. So eyewitnesses would literally look up in the sky and see the new moon and then go to the Beit Din and declare that they had seen the new moon. And in order for the Beit Din to really confirm and say the new month has begun for sure, they would need two witnesses. They would interview them separately, and they would ask various questions about where do you see the moon in the sky, what was the size, what time was it that you saw this, and in various positions. They would ask very specific questions. If both people answered the same pretty much, they would be able to then declare and know confidently and for sure that the new Hebrew month had actually begun. And the way that they would announce it is with messengers who actually would go and announce to the different Jewish communities that were in Israel and beyond that the new month had begun. Sometimes this was the actual physical people who would go from community to community, but also sometimes done through blowing the shofar or through fire, and that way declaring and sharing with communities who are in Israel and beyond that the new month had begun. The set calendar was then created by the sage Hillel around the 4th century. And from that point onward, declaring the new month in the rabbinic council and the Beit Din by eyewitnesses basically became unnecessary. But this shows us in Antiquity times how Rosh Chodesh was truly a celebration and something that involved the entire community, that each individual could be a part of contributing to declaring the new Hebrew month. And it literally happened once every single month. And this really shows how this is such a huge celebration for the community and something that is really an ownership and a point of empowerment for the Jewish nation in times of antiquity. So what are additional aspects of Rosh Chodesh that we see today that's been added in modern times? It's important to mention that Rosh Chodesh today, besides everything I mentioned at the beginning of the video with adding prayers and not allowed to fast, that it is a special day in the Jewish calendar that happens once a month, is pretty much a normal day. You go to work as normal, kids go to school, and daycare as normal. It's not a holiday compared to other holidays that you're really not allowed to work. Because of that, it really kind of loses its meaning a little bit compared to antiquity times that we had extra sacrifices, that people were involved in the Beit Din, seeing the new moon and messengers and all of that stuff. At the same time, in various situations, we are able to feel an additional celebration. Some people will go out of their way to make Rosh Chodesh feel special. For example, in schools and daycares, they ask kids to wear white shirts, and they will often have a special celebratory meal, celebrating Rosh Chodesh and making it special for kids and educating that from a young age. In addition, in various circles, Rosh Chodesh is seen as the women's holiday and celebration. Why? Because similar to the moon that goes through a cycle every 30 days, so do women have a cycle that they go through every month, more or less. And there is a clear comparison you can have between a woman and the various modes that she goes through compared to the moon, celebrating this on Rosh Chodesh every single month. And in various denominations, you have celebrations that come across in different ways. It might be dancing and singing for Rosh Chodesh. It might be reading text together and just celebrating women as women and just gatherings. There are a variety of different ways out there to celebrate, but that has been an additional aspect that's been added to Rosh Chodesh in modern times, whether that is, again, in schools and institutions or among Jewish women in different denominations. And what's so special about this coming Rosh Chodesh of Adar? In our oral law, the Talmud, we have a quote that says, Mishanichnas Adar marbin besimcha, which translates to, when Adar comes in, when the Jewish month of Adar begins, then we greatly rejoice. And why is that? So 2 weeks later, on the 14th and 15th of Adar, is the holiday of Purim. I won't go into so many details right now, but this holiday was the day that was supposed to cause and bring to the destruction of the Jewish people, and it became the exact opposite. It became a day of celebration, a day of rejoicing, a day of celebrating the Jewish people, and that transformation of seriously 180 degrees is really the cause for celebration already from the beginning of the month, 2 weeks before, that we are really supposed to create that joy and happiness in our lives and prepare towards the holiday. So what is actually done today? Well, people take that upon themselves in various different ways, and it's very personal. There aren't really guided instructions for how to be happy and merry towards Purim. But I will say that in schools and in preschools and stuff like that, they're already doing celebratory events and happy moments and celebrating from the beginning of Adar. High schools will often be decorated. They'll have, fun, silly plays that are already starting from the beginning of Adar, and that really puts everyone in that spirit and mood of really rejoicing as the beginning of Adar starts. And we have one more interesting factor about Rosh Chodesh Adar specifically for those who are in Israel. From the 1970s, it has become Family Day. Henrietta Sold, who was the founder of the women's organization Hadassah that helped children throughout Israel. Even though she did not have children of her own, she was a founder of an important organization that assisted Israeli children who were in need and needed that support. And she became such an important figure that the day of her passing, which happens to be Rosh Chodesh Adar, was declared as Family Day in Israel. Originally in the 1970s, it was Mother's Day, but in the 1990s, it was transformed and agreed upon to be Family Day, recognizing the different kinds of families that people have in Israel. In this way, not only is Adar a time of rejoicing, but it is a time that we are recognizing and celebrating our families, that we are rejoicing in the blessings that we have within our family, and that is also celebrated within schools, preschools, and families do really something special for themselves on this day and celebrating being a family basis. In this video, we spoke about Rosh Chodesh, how originally was marked and celebrated and how the entire nation was involved, the modern developments that we have with comparing to women and their cycle and celebrating that today, along with understanding why Rosh Chodesh Adar specifically is so significant and how it is marked today. In addition, we also mentioned Family Day in Israel and how that has been added as a unique aspect and celebration for Rosh Chodesh. I wish you a lovely Rosh Chodesh. Enjoy this beautiful day of Rosh Chodesh Adar, celebrating with your family, celebrating, rejoicing towards the holiday of Purim, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below for more Jewish content and check out the links in the description to see how you can further your own Jewish journey.